Hello and welcome to session 2 of this Mindful Me program. Today's topic is about creating and living mindful moments. So in the previous session, session 1 of the program, we learned how to be mindful by noticing when our mind drifts and gently bringing it back to the present moment. We also learned from our wise animal teacher friends how by using our senses we would be able to experience and absorb the present moment more fully. Then we went on in exploring creative activities in which we can exercise the act of being mindful. As little as these steps may seem, they are actually major steps you have already taken in becoming mindful. So give yourself a good pat on the back and feel proud for what you've done so far. For those of you wondering, how much extra time will I be needing to practice being mindful? I am already so busy with other things I cannot find the time to practice mindfulness. Well, the good news is that thankfully practicing mindfulness does not need us to make extra time for it, as being mindful is a practice we can put into action with anything and even everything that we already do throughout a day. And the best thing is, the more we practice, the more naturally it will happen. There is a very powerful quote a mindfulness teacher shares, and it's that what we practice grows stronger. And this is true with everything we give our time to, whether it's positive or whether it's a negative thing. So it's very important to always be mindful of our words, our actions, our thoughts, our habits, and make sure that they are good for us and good for those around us too, as what we do the most will become stronger with time and practice. This also reminds us how anything we want to achieve in life is within our reach as long as we practice and dedicate time to it. So today I want to share with you how we can turn ordinary moments from our daily routines into mindful moments. In this session, we are also going to reflect on other techniques that we can use to help us stay in the present moment and live our daily routines in a more mindful way. So what are the different tasks we experience throughout a daily routine? Those that do not require much thought. Waking up and experiencing the last moments before we get out of bed. Brushing our teeth. Washing our hands and face. Getting dressed. Eating breakfast. A car ride or bus ride or a walk to school. Your silent walk in line towards your classroom. The list goes on. This is just perhaps the beginning of a day. Please notice that these examples are all tasks that do not require much thought. We don't need to be thinking about them. So instead, we can use our senses to help us stay focused and experience them mindfully. How much focus and attention are we actually giving these daily tasks whilst we are experiencing them? How often is our mind drifting whilst we are actually doing them? When things become a routine habit and don't require much thought, we tend to become a little bored of them. Maybe we take them for granted and do them in a bit of an automatic mode, where we pay little or even no attention to what we're actually doing. Has it ever happened to you that for a moment you stop and think, how did I get from here to there? Or did I brush my teeth? Did I wash my face? I can't remember doing these things, but I actually did do them. This means that during those moments, we have allowed our minds to take over, drift, and we lose focus on what we're actually doing. So we lose that consciousness of what we have actually done. How many things can you recognize doing in this repetitive automatic mode that doesn't require much thinking? If we take a moment to think about this, these are tasks that take up a large portion of our everyday life. And if we're not doing them mindfully, it means that for all these hours, we're actually missing out on making these experiences valuable ones. Don't you agree? So how can we turn these boring automatic habits around? First of all, we must see each and every one of these daily tasks as opportunities to practice being mindful and turn them into mindful moments that will improve the state of our minds as well as the quality of our day. Instead of doing the activity as yet another day doing the same thing, live the experience as if it were the first time you were living it, as if you had no knowledge or memory of having done it before. To make this easier, as you're doing the task, imagine you're an alien on its first day on Earth living a human experience. And thirdly, as we did in the previous session, use your senses to make the experience more vivid and effective. Exercise 1. Mindful moments throughout our daily routine. With our eyes open, we're going to visualize the following routine tasks described and imagine experiencing them mindfully. So, when you're brushing your teeth, for example, pay close attention to how the toothpaste falls onto the brush and how it tastes in your mouth. The sounds created whilst you're brushing your teeth. Notice any scents you can smell, and look in the mirror and observe yourself as you brush your teeth. Continue imagining these mindful experiences using your senses as you visualize yourself whilst you're getting dressed, preparing or having a breakfast, a moment where you're caressing your pet, walking to school, taking a bus ride. If the weather is rainy, appreciate the sounds made by the rain and the puddles. Absorb the smell of wet, earthy, rainy weather. Visualize your experience whilst you're taking a shower, feeling the water pattering against your face and skin, the sound it makes, and so on. Enjoy your experience and each day pay attention to different things you may notice during the same experience. A good tip is to start each task by taking a mindful breath, as it will help center your mind and prepare yourself for the mindful experience. This reminds me, let's take a short mindful breathing break now to help settle and rebalance our minds. In 3, 2, 1. Mindful moments that require thinking. One important thing we must always remember is that using our senses is a fantastic technique to be used to experience moments that do not require much thinking, just like the tasks we have covered so far today. So for tasks which do require us to think and process information, such as when we're doing work or working out a sum, problem solving, writing a story, listening to the teacher, if we tried using our senses throughout these tasks, we would become completely distracted by them, and it would prevent us from doing our work properly. So in these cases, being mindful would mean to simply notice when our attention drifts and gently bring it back to the task we're doing, and making sure that we apply a full focus and a full attention on the task so that we can do it at the best of our ability. So let's take a moment to ask ourselves this question. What daily tasks require our full attention and thinking minds? Listening to your teacher explain the work, listening to a friend speak, writing a story, or writing the answers from a comprehension, journal writing, when we are problem solving, maybe whilst working out our answers in maths, reading a book or important information, talking or giving a presentation. Pause this video if you wish to discuss or write down your answers on the worksheet provided. In these tasks, we would only apply the sense involved in the task, and most of all, our mental involvement. So if you haven't done so yet, let's start implementing this technique in this week's practice, particularly throughout our school day. In this exercise, we will mindfully experience listening to music. So we will be using our hearing sense and our minds to work out what we're listening out for. How can we be mindful throughout this activity? Well, most of all, notice if your attention drifts and gently bring it back to the task. Before we start, here are the guidelines of what we will be needing to focus our attention on as the music is playing. Notice the timbre, the sound playing. It has quite a unique quality to it. Focus on the melody. It stands out quite prominently. Does it repeat or does it change? Is it catchy or unpredictable? How does it affect you? Can you capture the tempo of the music? The speed, how fast or slow it is? Softly tap the tempo to get a feel for it. Notice any added instrumental layers and how they differ from each other. Is the rhythm being played based on long notes, on short notes? Does it repeat? How does the music make you feel? Take a moment to ask yourself, how do you feel after this exercise? Does your mind feel chaotic or does it feel focused and calm? Did you manage to keep focus on the task or did you keep getting distracted? When we have one task to fully apply our attention to and are given specific guidelines as to what to focus on, it makes being mindful much easier for us. But what happens when we have more than one thing that we are trying to focus on at the same time? What things take us away from experiencing the moment? One thing we may find takes us away from experiencing a moment fully are the distractions we depend on to keep us entertained whilst doing regular tasks. Can you think of any? So when we choose to watch TV whilst we're doing our homework, or even when someone is talking to us, our attention is split between the two tasks, meaning we're not able to give our best to neither one of the tasks we're attempting to experience. So if we're doing our homework whilst we're watching TV, we end up making silly mistakes and probably not fully absorbing what we are meant to be learning. If we're trying to listen to someone speak at the same time as watching TV, then we are only receiving part of the information we are being given. So it is important to become mindful of these situations and make a conscious effort to choose the one you want to focus on and give your full attention to in order to give your best to the task and make the most of the experience. Another common example is watching TV or using a phone or an iPad whilst we're eating a plate of food. We are completely missing out on mindfully chewing, tasting, and enjoying that plate of food, which is extremely important for our digestion, and listening to our bodies, knowing when we're full or we need to pace ourselves. Can you think of any more situations where you try to multitask and become distracted? Pause this video if you wish to discuss or write these answers down on the worksheet provided. At this point, we're going to take our second mindful breathing break to help settle our minds. In 3, 2, 1. Sometimes we may feel like we need to fill up every second of a day entertaining our minds or doing something, and we miss out on actually pausing and just breathing, or just simply being in the moment doing nothing, embracing the moment as it is. This may be because we may feel we have no time to do everything we want to in a day, so we end up doing more than one thing at a time, and in reality, we're missing out in gaining a meaningful experience of either of the tasks that we're doing. So start becoming aware of those things you want to achieve a full experience in, and give the best of yourself to it. Make a conscious choice of dedicating your full attention to it, especially when you're dealing with people. It is never a pleasant experience when you're trying to talk to someone who is sharing the attention they are giving you with a phone or an iPad or any other task they may be eager to do at the same time. So be mindful of this. Don't do to others what you wouldn't like done to you. And if someone is doing this to you, you may wish to kindly share with them how it makes you feel. Don't judge them or be angry at them for it. We have all been there, and we all know what it is to do something unmindfully, not being aware of how it affects others. But now that you are being aware, you can make that change and inspire others to do the same through your own mindful actions. Mindful moments with ourselves. Another reason we may feel we need to keep ourselves busy and avoid pausing and being in the moment may be because we don't know how to be with ourselves in silence. For me, that is one of the most important things I need for my own well-being, to be with myself. We need to think of time with ourselves as a way of learning about ourselves, finding ourselves, and getting to know who we are and what we need and want to achieve in life. We work hard to achieve positive relationships with those around us, but we forget to listen to ourselves. We must remember that the most important relationship we need to establish is the one we have with ourselves. As I mentioned at the beginning of this program, our mind is where we spend most of our time in, so we need to make sure it is a happy place to be in and achieve a healthy relationship with it. So how can we go about this? For those of you wanting to invest more time in practicing mindfulness, find a moment each day where you can just sit and be with yourself in a quiet space. Here's a brief example of what you can do. Use this time to observe your thoughts. Notice any emotions and become aware of any body sensations. If you notice any lingering thoughts running through your mind, you may want to write these down in your own diary or journal. It is a brilliant way of releasing what you don't wish to carry inside you, and a perfect way of expressing yourself safely and with privacy. Become mindful of yourself without the need to judge yourself or react to anything, simply accepting yourself as you are in the moment. Reflect and recognize anything you may need to address or anything you may have learnt. Comfort yourself and treat yourself just like you would treat a loved one, with kindness, with love, and with care. Think of things you can do to make yourself feel relaxed and soothed. And most of all, think of things you'd like to do to nurture yourself. Do things you love. Listen to your favorite music. Do some art. Write. Create. Go for a jog. Practice yoga. It is a great way of practicing being mindful of our own mind and body and keeping ourselves fit. Do more of the hobbies you love, even if you're not great at them. Remember, what we practice becomes stronger, and with time, your skills will strengthen. So dedicate time to the things you love and want to achieve. During weekends or your spare time, go to places where there is nature, where you can walk or sit on the grass, take a hike or bike ride, and sit somewhere quiet where you can admire your surroundings and appreciate a good view. Watch the birds for a while and see what they're up to. Walk or play on the beach and simply sit and enjoy the sounds, observing the movements of the ocean, feeling the sea on your feet on the sand. Explore new places with your family, where you can walk by rivers or swim in them. And every night before you go to bed, take a look at the sky and watch the stars sparkling away, and follow the cycles of the moon. The possibilities are truly endless, and making this a conscious habit will help you release any tension you may have gathered throughout your day or throughout your week. And most of all, it will help recharge yourself through the strongest forces around us, nature. By breathing in clean, fresh air, absorbing the energy of nature, and experiencing it mindfully through our senses, we will be able to feel rebalanced and experience mindfulness at its very best. After having a few minutes with ourselves, we're going to write down and journal any observations we may have made of ourselves, those thoughts we want to release, those issues we may need to address and deal with, any emotions we may be experiencing, any body sensations. Write down things you want to do more of, or may want to plan to do during this coming week to help you relax and nurture yourself, make yourself happy, and make yourself feel your very best. You may wish to use the principled journal I have provided as part of your Mindful Me workbook, or you can use your own. If you don't already do this, use your journal as a way of communicating with yourself and with your mind. You may find this is an extremely useful tool to help you express how you feel through your darkest times and even your best times without being judged or suffering any consequences from it. Pause this video to carry out this exercise or continue to play to wrap up this session. So this week we will work on deepening our practice a little further, and I will catch up with you on our next session, which covers one of my favorite topics. For now, have a great mindful week.